Welcome to another DK Engineering inspection video. And today on our turntable we have a very rare limited edition lightweight V8 series Ferrari. This is of course the 348 GT Competizione, or more commonly known as the GTC of course. Ferrari built just 50 of these cars, and of course this is the origin of the lightweight V8 series Ferrari. So the modern comparables are of course the 458 Speciale, the 488 Pista. They all owe their roots back down to this car here, which was, as I say, the first lightweight V8 series production car, of course the 348, and then they made this. You have a 200 kilogram saving over the standard car, and that's equipped with a V8 paired with a 5-speed gated manual gearbox. So a rather fantastic recipe in a very lightweight Ferrari. This car was delivered new in 1995 via Ferrari of Leeds, so JCT 600, on the 4th of February to Mr. Robson, who was based in Morpeth. And of those 50 cars, they're actually individually numbered, as we can go into later on the interior. This car was actually one of 8 they proceeded to make in right-hand drive as well. So a very, very attractive example for the UK market indeed. Through its life, it's gone through a few more owners, and the number currently stands at 8 former keepers. But throughout its life, it's been very well maintained actually. As you can see, it's never obviously been fully restored. It's a 1995 car, but it's been very carefully maintained, owing to the rarity and people wanting to keep this car alive, of course. One of its most notable owners was in 2005, a gentleman called Nick Taylor, who was an experienced driver and rather well known in the Ferrari Owners Club of Great Britain. He bought the car and proceeded to campaign it in various events from mid-2000s to about 2011. And in fact, in the history file that we will supply with this car, it contains 70 events having been entered alone, just within the history file. Obviously, it's a very comprehensive file, just with those 70 event documents alone. And during that time, it was extremely well cared for, meticulously so. And ever since after then, it was continued to be so. And most recently, it's been serviced in June of this year, June of 2023, by JCT 600 once again, actually. So DK Engineering actually sold this car to its current owner in 2020, a well-known collector of mostly Ferraris actually. And he's not used the car all that much, but he's continued to care for it and keep it in his collection. And now he wishes to part ways with it simply due to relocation outside the country where you can't register a right-hand drive car. You'll note here on the windscreen we have a few stickers where this car was recently, not all that recently, but back in 2017, it entered Salon Privé, the well-known and respected concours event up at Blenheim Palace, where it was invited to participate in the tribute to 70 years of Ferrari. Just helps demonstrate just how iconic this car is and important in Ferrari's history, of course. So in its life, it's covered just under 53,000 miles. I can show you the odometer when we go into the interior, but if we want to be specific, it's 52,991 miles. Having seen quite a lot of event use, particularly hill climbs as well, you will note the paint isn't perfect. You have some light marks on the door handle there, for example, or the door button, I should say. But generally, the paintwork, I would personally say, is in rather fine condition. A small bit of curving on this front left wheel here. Small bit of rash there. And then a few various stone chips across the front bumper. But to be completely honest with you, from afar, it's hardly noticeable, and it's nothing that you wouldn't expect regardless anyway. Of of course, the 348 had a revised exhaust system over the standard car as well, so I think this car sounds rather raughty, you could say. And we'll go into the interior, which you simply push this button in here, where we're instantly met by the carbon sills and cloth carbon fibre race buckets. Much like you'd find in the F40 actually, and people commonly comment on how these are the F40 seats. They are very similar indeed, but in fact they do have they don't have identical serial numbers, so they're not like for like, but they are highly identical. And then of course this is you know, a race car for the road pretty much. You have the race 4-point racing harness. As we can see here, the individually numbered plaque, number 41 of the 50 cars. And then up here we have the chassis dedication plate on top of the steering wheel there as well. And of course that fantastic gated 5-speed manual gearbox. And then here we can see the mileage covered is just 52,991 as I mentioned. And then what we'll do whilst this side is go into the rear engine compartment. Very well maintained and remarkably clean for a 1995 car. And as well down here, we'll note how the car is wired for a C-Tech, making it just that bit easier to store. And we have the chassis stamp into the actual car there, and the assembly number this side. And of course we have the colour sticker. And going into the front of the car, which is done by pulling this firm pin there, we have what you'd consider for an out-and-out lightweight car, a rather generous front boot space. Very likely that you'd be able to fit an entire weekend of luggage in there. And you'll note that leather strap there, which is something I've left aside over here. Quite cool that this a nice toolkit that packs neatly into the front of the car. So I have pulled these bits out here, but essentially the tyre weld fits on there, and then that tray goes on top of the tools here, and then in here we have the other tray that also goes on top of as well. So we have a complete tool set here, and then it just straps very neatly into the front there. We of course have the fantastic pop-up headlights, much known and loved around the world. And of course designed by Pininfarina. To conclude, I'll give you a quick view of the passenger side of this car. Again, equipped with the race bucket seat, as you would expect. Very well kept interior, much like the exterior of the car. This car will be going live on Carhuna with the DK Engineering, one of their auctions, and presents a very rare opportunity to get yourself into the world of the original lightweight V8 series Ferrari. Thank you for watching and happy bidding.